The needle of the tachometer is a fixed black line against the white face of the gauge, a monument to potential energy. The engine, a Japanese-made single-cylinder four-stroke, liquid-cooled and electronically fuel-injected, emits a low, guttural hum. A vibration felt more in the bones than heard over the soft hiss of the Mediterranean breeze funneled between the limestone buildings of Sliema. The driver's hands, gloved in unperforated black calfskin leather, rest on the grips of the Yamaha T-Max scooter. Motionless, he studies the distorted reflection in the convex glass of a closed patisserie window. A fisheye lens capturing the street behind him, the promenade, and the sun-bleached facade of the Diplomat Hotel. Every pedestrian, every passing car, every flicker of a curtain in a window across the street is a data point to be logged, analyzed, and cross-referenced against the established baseline. Behind him, the second man sits perfectly still, a counterweight of pure kinetic possibility. His name is Yaron, and in a custom-fabricated, lead-lined compartment beneath his seat rests a Beretta Model 70 pistol. The weapon, chambered in .22 long rifle, is fitted with a suppressor machined by a Mossad armorer from a single block of titanium. Its internal baffles designed with an asymmetric K-baffle stack for maximum sound reduction for the first 3 shots, before heat and carbon buildup marginally increase the acoustic signature. His gaze is fixed, unblinking, on the main entrance of the hotel, 150 meters down the street. The sea air is thick with competing scents: salt, diesel fumes from the ferry, and the faint aroma of frying onions from a nearby pastizzi shop. It is 1:15 p.m. The October sun is high and harsh, bleaching the color from the world. The target is late, 3 minutes late. In their meticulously planned operation, a construct of timetables, contingencies, and fail-safes, 3 minutes is not an inconvenience. It is a catastrophic variable. It signifies a deviation from a pattern observed, logged, and confirmed over the previous 59 hours. A broken pattern is an indicator of compromise, a change in the target's intentions, or the introduction of an unknown, hostile variable. Yaron's concealed earpiece, a custom-molded receiver tuned to a frequency-hopping signal that cycles through 1,600 channels per second, is silent. The surveillance team, codenamed Neviot, has not transmitted since confirming the target, codenamed Eagle, had returned to his 4th-floor room at 1:02 p.m. following his morning walk. The silence is protocol. Radio discipline is absolute. Unnecessary chatter creates electronic footprints and invites interception by any number of listening posts: the nearby British sovereign base at Akrotiri, the American NSA station in Sigonella, or even the French DGSE, who were known to be tracking Algerian GIA cells using Malta as a logistical hub. But this silence feels different, heavier, charged with unanswered questions. The driver, Gil, shifts his weight on the scooter, a fractional adjustment of his left foot on the running board. It's a minute movement, but to Yaron, who has trained with him for 7 years, from the Negev desert to the mock-up Arab streets of the Atom facility, it is a full sentence. What's the holdup? Do we have a problem? Is the kill box compromised? Yaron responds with a slight, almost imperceptible shake of his head, a gesture that would be invisible to anyone not specifically looking for it. Wait. Adhere to protocol. His operational orders, memorized to the letter, are explicit. If the target deviates from the established pattern by more than 5 minutes, or if the pre-selected kill zone is compromised by any external factor, a passing police patrol car, a busload of tourists disembarking, a child chasing a stray cat into the street, the operation is scrubbed. They will separate, proceed to secondary rally points, and await exfiltration instructions. The network Dahlia, so carefully built over the preceding weeks, would be dismantled. There may not be another time. The intelligence that brought them to this specific street on this specific day was a fleeting signal, a ghost in the global SIGINT machine. It placed the most wanted man in the Middle East, a man who moved with the caution of a phantom, on this neutral island for a 72-hour window to meet with a Libyan intelligence contact. That window is now 61 hours old and closing fast. Yaron's eyes continue their methodical scan. A woman with a wire shopping cart. A man in a business suit talking on a mobile phone. The mundane, predictable rhythm of a European afternoon. It's the perfect camouflage and the perfect trap. Another minute passes. 4 minutes late. His thumb hovers over the knurled transmit button on his wrist communicator, a device disguised as a digital sports watch. A single short click would transmit a pre-coded signal. Stand down, mission aborted. A double click would signal, problem on the ground, require immediate intel update. He does neither. He trusts the plan. He trusts the team. But above all, he trusts the target's fatal flaw, an intellectual arrogance that bordered on contempt for his enemies. The target believes he is invisible, cloaked under the pseudonym Dr. Ibrahim Shaweshi, a Libyan academic researching Mediterranean trade history. He believes his operational security, honed over 2 decades of clandestine activity, is flawless. He is wrong. At 1:17 p.m., exactly 4 minutes and 45 seconds past the predicted departure time, the polished glass doors of the Diplomat Hotel swing open. A man steps out. Medium height, a perceptible stoop in his shoulders, balding with a fringe of dark hair, wearing a cheap, ill-fitting polyester suit that hangs loosely on his frame. He adjusts his thick-lensed glasses, blinking in the bright sunlight like a creature emerging from a cave. The Neviot team leader's voice, Dahlia's voice, crackles in Yaron's ear, calm, clipped, devoid of emotion. Eagle is on the move. Repeat, Eagle is on the move. Solo. Southbound on foot, west side of the street. Package is confirmed. It's him, Fadi Shikaki, physician, poet, and founder, and Secretary General of Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The man who ordered the deaths of dozens of Israeli civilians and soldiers. The man whose signature was on the operational plan for the Beit Lid bombing just 9 months prior. An attack so brutal it had shaken the foundations of the Israeli government. Yaron's heart rate, monitored by the biosensors in his watch, remains a steady 72 beats per minute. His breathing is slow, measured, diaphragmatic. This is not about anger or revenge or politics. This is a function. A complex equation of velocity, distance, and time being reduced to its simplest, final solution. Gil's right hand tightens on the throttle. The engine's hum rises a single, deliberate octave. The target begins his walk along the waterfront promenade, the exact route he has taken for the past 2 days. He is predictable. He is arrogant. And he is about to die. Yaron's right hand moves in a fluid, practiced motion, reaching down to a concealed pull tab near his ankle. The motion unlocks the scooter's hidden compartment. His hand disappears for less than a second before re-emerging with the cold, dense weight of the Beretta. He performs a final press check, pulling the slide back a few millimeters to visually and physically confirm a round is seated in the chamber. The scooter pulls away from the curb, smoothly, silently, a predator merging with the sparse afternoon traffic. The distance closes. 100 meters, 50 meters. Gil expertly navigates around a slow-moving delivery van. 20 meters. The world narrows, peripheral vision dissolving until all that exists is the space between the front sight of his pistol and the precise spot on the back of the target's head, just below the occipital ridge. He has 10 seconds of operational time before they pass the target, and the window is lost. To understand the 10 seconds on a Malta street, you must first understand the 9 months of methodical, relentless work that preceded it. The story begins not with a gunshot, but with a single, crimson-bordered intelligence file landing on the desk of the Prime Minister of Israel, Yitzhak Rabin. The file is designated Red Page, a classification reserved for events of the highest national security impact. It contains the preliminary after-action report of the Beit Lid bombing. The date is January 22, 1995. The language is sterile, technical, a litany of ordnance types, blast radii, and casualty figures. But the facts it contains are a scream of calculated rage. Beit Lid Junction, a major transit hub for IDF soldiers heading to and from bases in central Israel. 9:30 a.m. A 22-year-old Palestinian, Anwar Sukar, a known PIJ recruit from the Tulkarem refugee camp, approaches the crowded bus stop cafeteria. Beneath his oversized coat, a vest packed with 10 kilograms of military-grade TNT, surrounded by a shrapnel layer of nails, ball bearings, and hexagonal nuts designed to maximize human damage. He detonates. The blast tears through the glass-walled cafeteria and the dense crowd of soldiers waiting for buses. The carnage is immediate and horrific. But the plan is more sophisticated, more diabolical. Fathi Shikaki knew from studying previous attacks that explosions draw people in. Medics, soldiers, police, and civilians rushing to help. 3 minutes later, as the smoke begins to clear and the first frantic rescue efforts are underway, a second man, Salah Shakir, a 26-year-old dressed in a stolen IDF uniform, walks directly into the heart of the chaos, into the knot of soldiers trying to treat the wounded, and detonates his own, larger device of 12 kilograms. The second blast is a calculated act of slaughter aimed specifically at the rescuers. The final toll: 21 soldiers and 1 civilian killed, 69 wounded, many with life-altering injuries. It is the deadliest attack against Israelis since the end of the 1982 Lebanon War. It is also a direct, strategic message to Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. The attack is timed precisely to derail the Oslo II Accords, the fragile, fraught peace process he has staked his entire political legacy on. The architect of this message is Fathi Shikaki. His organization, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, or PIJ, immediately claims responsibility in a fax sent to Reuters, celebrating the heroic martyrdom operation. For Rabin, this is an existential threat not just to his people, but to the very concept of a negotiated peace. In a closed-door meeting of his security cabinet, the order is given, direct and unambiguous: find Shikaki. Eliminate him. The file is passed to Mossad, Israel's national intelligence agency. Specifically, it lands on the desk of the head of Caesarea, the Special Operations Division. For the purposes of this narrative, we will call him Meir Dagan, a man who would later become the director of the entire agency, a man whose operational philosophy was famously, brutally direct. When fighting terror, you must have a knife held permanently to the enemy's throat, so they never have a moment to plan their next attack. Dagan is not a bureaucrat. He is a warrior spy, a grizzled veteran of the Sayeret Matkal Special Forces Unit, with a reputation for unconventional thinking and a disdain for red tape. He understands that eliminating a target like Shikaki is not just about retribution. It is about systemic disruption. Shikaki is not merely a figurehead. He is the central, irreplaceable node connecting PIJ's financiers in Tehran, its political patrons in Damascus, and its bomb makers in the Gaza Strip. Removing him would be like removing the queen from a chessboard. The entire enemy army would be thrown into confusion and disarray, buying Israel precious time. The first step is to build a complete psychological and operational profile of the target, an intelligence mosaic assembled from thousands of disparate fragments. The man known as Fathi Shikaki was born in a refugee camp in the Gaza Strip in 1951, his family having fled their village during the 1948 war. He was a paradox. A physician trained at Zagazig University in Egypt who dedicated his life to inflicting mass casualties. He was a poet and an intellectual who authored books on Islamic philosophy and the failures of secular nationalism. Yet his singular focus was the annihilation of the State of Israel through armed struggle. He rejected the political maneuvering of Yasser Arafat's PLO, viewing any negotiation with Israel as a profound betrayal of the Palestinian cause. For Shikaki, there was no two-state solution, only total victory or total martyrdom. He founded PIJ in the late 1970s as a more radical, more ideologically pure alternative to the established Palestinian factions, funded directly by the new revolutionary regime in Iran. His genius was in organization. He built PIJ as a series of small, independent, and highly compartmentalized cells. This cellular structure made the organization incredibly resilient to penetration by Israeli intelligence. Capturing one bomb-making cell in Gaza would not compromise a fundraising cell in Germany or a recruitment cell in Jordan. The only common link, the only man who knew all the pieces, was Shikaki himself. He controlled the flow of money from Iran. He approved the operational plans drafted by his lieutenants. He gave the final green light for every major attack. He was the brain, the heart, and the spine of the monster. His operational security was legendary. He rarely slept in the same place for more than 2 consecutive nights. He used multiple passports and identities, switching between them with practiced ease. He communicated through a complex system of human couriers and coded messages embedded in mundane radio broadcasts. He was based in Damascus, under the overt protection of the Syrian regime of Hafez al-Assad, a virtual black hole for Israeli intelligence operations. For years, he had been designated a high-priority target, but he remained untouchable, a ghost in the Syrian fortress. The Beit-Lid bombing changed the calculus. The risk of inaction, of more bombings, and the collapse of the peace process now outweighed the immense political and operational risks of a complex, politically sensitive foreign operation. The mission, codenamed Operation Cuckoo, would fall to Mossad's most elite, most secretive unit, the Kidon. The name translates to bayonet or tip of the spear, and its purpose is singular: targeted assassination. Its operators are ghosts. They are recruited from other Israeli Special Forces units, Sayeret Matkal, Shayatet 13, Shaldog. But their true training only begins when they enter the Kidon. They spend years learning to create and live inside false identities, becoming so immersed in their covers that they can pass a polygraph test. They are fluent in multiple languages, not just conversationally, but with the correct regional accents and cultural nuances. They are masters of disguise, surveillance, and improvisation. They are trained to kill with surgical precision, using anything from silenced pistols to exotic, untraceable poisons developed at the Israel Institute for Biological Research. The man selected to lead the team on the ground was a veteran we will call Yaron. Yaron was 35 years old. A quiet, intense man who had served 10 years in Sayeret Matkal before being recruited into the Kidon. He was a specialist in urban operations. His classified file noted a successful operation in Cyprus, where he had eliminated a Hezbollah arms dealer with a car bomb, and another in Athens, where he had neutralized a key logistics planner for the Abu Nidal organization using a silenced pistol at close range. He was known for his preternatural calm under pressure and his fanatical, almost obsessive attention to detail. He would be the trigger man. Flashback. Beirut, Lebanon, 1983. The Green Line. Yaron, then 23 and a junior officer in Sayeret Matkal, lay pressed against the rubble of a shattered building, the grit of pulverized concrete working its way into his skin. His unit was tasked with a snatch and grab. Extract a PLO commander responsible for coordinating attacks in northern Israel. The intelligence was solid, but the target's location, a third-floor apartment in a contested zone between Christian and Muslim militias, was a hornet's nest. The entry was supposed to be silent. It wasn't. A dog barked, a light flicked on. The next 10 seconds were a blur of controlled violence. Yaron was third through the door. The first man was hit immediately, a burst of AK-47 fire from a guard in the hallway. The second man returned fire, suppressing the threat. Yaron moved past them both, his Uzi held low. He didn't clear the other rooms. That wasn't his job. His job was the target. He burst into the bedroom. The PLO commander was scrambling for a pistol on his nightstand. There was a woman in the bed, screaming. Yaron registered her, dismissed her as a non-threat, and fired a 3-round burst into the commander's chest. The man collapsed. The mission objective was technically complete, but now they had to get out. The firefight spilled into the street. RPGs tore chunks from the building. Yaron and his team fought their way down the stairs, dragging their wounded comrade. In the chaos of the withdrawal, Yaron became separated, cut off by a new wave of militia fighters pouring into the alley. He was alone, his radio crackling with static, with 3 full magazines and an enemy that knew exactly where he was. He didn't panic. He didn't try to fight his way back. He went deeper into enemy territory. For the next 8 hours, he moved through the shadows of West Beirut, a ghost in his own operation. He used the sewer system. He scaled walls. He laid motionless in a garbage heap for 2 hours while a patrol passed less than 5 meters away. He rationed his water. He controlled his breathing. He became part of the urban decay. He eventually made it to a pre-arranged emergency exfiltration point on the coast, where a Shayatet 13 Zodiac boat picked him up just before dawn. He was the last man out. His file was marked with a rare commendation for improvisational skill and extreme resilience under isolated combat conditions. That resilience was why he was chosen for Kidon. He didn't just follow plans, he survived when they fell apart. Present day. Backing him up was a hand-picked team. His driver, Gil, was another Kidon veteran, an expert in evasive and high-speed driving, trained to navigate dense urban environments and escape any pursuit. The surveillance and logistics would be handled by a larger team from the Mossad and Neviot units. The leader of this crucial support element was a woman we will call Dahlia. Dahlia was a master of advance work, a katsa of the highest order. Her specialty was entering a foreign country weeks or even months before an operation, completely alone, under a deep cover identity. She would build the entire operational infrastructure from scratch, renting safe houses, procuring untraceable vehicles, establishing secure communications, and mapping the target area without raising a whisper of suspicion from local authorities. Her work was the invisible foundation upon which the entire mission would rest. Flashback. East Berlin, 1988. The air in the stairwell of the Plattenbau apartment block smelled of boiled cabbage and damp concrete. Dahlia, 27 years old and posing as Greta, a West German art history student at Humboldt University, adjusted the strap of her canvas satchel. Inside, nestled between a copy of Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit and a dog-eared notebook, was a TRC-77 listening device, a marvel of miniaturization no larger than a sugar cube. Her target was a mid-level Syrian intelligence officer who was brokering the sale of Soviet-made SA-7 shoulder-fired missiles to an IRA splinter group. Her objective: plant the bug inside the telephone junction box in his apartment. She had spent 3 weeks cultivating his lonely, embittered wife at a university library, bonding over a shared, fabricated love for expressionist poetry. An invitation for coffee was her way in. Now, standing outside apartment 6B, her heart was a metronome, steady at 70 beats per minute. She knocked. The wife, a sad-eyed woman named Anya, opened the door. As they talked, Dahlia feigned a coughing fit, asking for a glass of water. It was the opening she needed. While Anya was in the kitchen, Dahlia moved with silent, fluid efficiency to the hallway where the phone was. Her fingers, nimble from years of practice, opened the junction box with a specialized tool disguised as a pen. She placed the bug, its adhesive backing sticking instantly to the plastic housing. She had 12 seconds. 10 seconds. At 6 seconds, she heard the key in the front door. The husband. He was an hour early. Anja called out in surprise from the kitchen. Dahlia didn't panic. She didn't run. She closed the junction box, turned, and walked towards the man, extending her hand with a bright, disarming smile. "You must be Klaus. Anya has told me so much about you. I'm Greta, from her seminar." Her German was flawless, her accent pure Berlinerish. The Syrian officer, caught off guard, shook her hand, his eyes suspicious, but his manners forcing a reply. Dahlia kept talking, a waterfall of academic chatter about Rilke and Mann, steering the conversation, controlling the room, making herself simultaneously memorable as a person and forgettable as a threat. 5 minutes later, she made her excuses and left. The bug was in place. It would transmit for 72 hours, providing the intelligence that led to the interception of the missile shipment at a port in Rotterdam. Dahlia had never seen the target again. She had simply built the foundation and then vanished. This was her art. Present day. The geopolitical chessboard. For the Malta operation, she would pose as a British real estate agent scouting for investment properties, a cover that gave her a legitimate reason to be driving around the island, taking photographs of buildings and studying maps for days on end. The final piece of the puzzle was in Tel Aviv. Mayor Dagan. He would command the operation from the Mossad headquarters, a sterile, windowless remote nerve center known as the Pit, where he could see all the intelligence feeds in real time. He was the strategist, the grandmaster moving the pieces across the board. His job was to see the whole picture, to anticipate the enemy's moves, and to make the final, irrevocable call. Go or no go. The geopolitical chessboard was more complex and treacherous than ever. The Oslo Accords had enraged hardliners on both sides. PIJ, with the full backing of Iran, launched a brutal campaign of suicide bombings designed to kill the peace process itself by destroying the Israeli public's faith in it. Rabin was caught in a political vice. A targeted assassination was the perfect, albeit high-risk, solution. It was a deniable operation that would remove a key enemy without escalating into open war. It would send a clear, unspoken message to his patrons in Damascus and Tehran. Your proxies are not safe, no matter where they hide. The operational environment in Malta was also dangerously crowded. A CIA task force was running a major surveillance operation out of Sigonella, tracking the flow of Libyan arms to warring factions in the former Yugoslavia. Their electronic warfare platforms cast a wide net over the central Mediterranean, creating a constant risk of the Mossad team's encrypted communications being inadvertently flagged as an unknown hostile signal. Compounding the problem, the French DGSE was actively hunting GIA terrorists who used Malta's lax port security for transit. Just 2 weeks before Dalia arrived, a DGSE tip-off led to a raid by Maltese security services on a safe house in Valletta, just 3 kilometers from the Diplomat Hotel. The resulting heightened state of alert meant more random document checks and a greater police presence, shrinking the operational space in which Dalia's team had to work. They had to operate in the gaps, a ghost moving between the patrols of giants. But how to find him? For months, Mossad threw every asset they had at the problem. SIGINT teams from Unit 8200 monitored thousands of hours of communications out of Syria. Human sources were squeezed. The result was a frustrating, deafening silence. The breakthrough came not from a billion-dollar satellite, but from a 24-year-old corporal, a low-level analyst in Unit 8200. The analyst, a linguistics prodigy, was tasked with monitoring the communications of the Libyan embassy in Damascus. She flagged a series of encrypted faxes sent between the Damascus embassy and the foreign ministry in Tripoli. The encryption was standard Libyan diplomatic code, which had been broken years ago. The content was a series of travel arrangements for a man named Dr. Ibrahim Shaweshi, a Libyan national with a newly issued passport. What caught the analyst's eye was the priority level and handling instructions attached to these seemingly routine arrangements. They were being handled directly by the office of the Libyan intelligence chief himself, Musa Kusa. The file was kicked upstairs. Mossad's research division ran a facial recognition program, still a new and developing technology in 1995, against the new passport photo. They got a hit. An 85% probability match to a decade-old surveillance photo of Fatih Shikaki. It was thin, plausible, but not certain. They needed 100% confirmation. A human source, Sayanim, a Jewish diaspora volunteer working for Alitalia Airlines in Rome, where Shaweshi's flight would connect, was activated. The Sayanim's job was simple but dangerous. Get a positive visual identification. The agent, a middle-aged baggage handler with access to the VIP lounges, managed to get within 10 feet of the target. He confirmed the identity with a pre-arranged, innocuous coded message sent from a public payphone to a pager in Tel Aviv. The package for Uncle Moshe has arrived safely. The package was Fatih Shikaki. The destination was Malta. Operation Cuckoo was a go. The plan was set in motion with breathtaking speed. The first to arrive was Dalia. Her first 48 hours were a whirlwind of precise, clandestine activity. She established 3 separate safe houses, procured vehicles, and began activating her local network. Her most critical asset was a Maltese woman named Elena, a cleaner at the Diplomat Hotel whose late husband, a Jewish businessman from Tripoli, had been a long-time Mossad informant. Elena was not an ideologue. She was a widow with 2 children who was paid well for small, low-risk tasks. This task was not low risk. Recruiting her again required a delicate touch. Dalia didn't approach her directly. She arranged a chance encounter at the Marsax Lock fish market, a chaotic, noisy environment perfect for a discreet conversation. Posing as a British tourist, she, accidentally bumped into Elena, spilling a bag of oranges. As they both bent to pick them up, Dahlia spoke in a low, rapid-fire Hebrew, a language she knew Elena understood from her late husband. "Elena, it's Sarah's friend. I need your help. It's for David." Sarah was Elena's late husband's sister. David was his code name. The use of these names was a shock, a key to a locked room in Elena's past. Elena froze, her face pale. I can't," she stammered, looking around nervously. "He is a bad man, Elena." Dahlia continued, her voice soft but firm, never breaking eye contact. "He hurts children, like your children. We are offering 20,000 euros, enough to buy a small flat. Enough for a new start." Dahlia could see the war in the woman's eyes. Fear versus the desperate hope for a better life for her family. The money was a powerful lure, but it was the mention of her children that was the true lever. Dahlia had done her research. Elena's eldest son needed expensive medical treatment for a chronic respiratory condition. "Meet me tomorrow, Blue Grotto, 4 p.m. If you are not there, I will understand, and you will never see me again." Dahlia walked away without another word, leaving Elena with a choice. The next day, on the windswept cliffside, Elena was waiting. There, Dahlia, back in her guise as a friendly British realtor, passed her the small, sealed box of expensive Maltese nougat. "A gift for your children," she said with a warm smile. Inside the box, nestled amongst the sweets, was a miniature listening device and a micro camera, both disguised as standard European electrical plug adapters. The instructions were simple. During her cleaning rounds, she was to swap the existing adapters in Shikaki's room with the new ones. "He is a very quiet man," Elena whispered, her hands trembling slightly. "He keeps the Do Not Disturb sign on the door all morning. He leaves at 1:10 p.m. for his walk," Dahlia replied, her voice calm and reassuring. "Every day. You will have a window between 1:15 and 2 p.m. That is all. If you feel anything is wrong, you walk away. The safety of you and your children is the only thing that matters. Do you understand?" Elena nodded, clutching the box. The next day, she performed the swap flawlessly. The team now had eyes and ears inside the target's room. 2 days later, the 4-person Nevaiyot surveillance team arrived, followed by Yaron and Gil. They established their post in the apartment D,